Okay, so Tecmafoods, as Bernd said, we are focused on smaller farms and medium-sized farms. So when we started, we followed the idea that a mega factory will be suitable to everyone, but soon we realized that it's very difficult already to approach a new small business, a business where there is no expertise. At least in Portugal, there is no expertise if you try to hire. So it took us maybe 2 years to realize that that's the better approach, which will be a more step-by-step, smaller farms, modular approach. That's when we cook this mission, which is about to develop a network of a centralized operation, which can feed and support smaller farms. The idea is not new, so we are using the poultry model, the aquaculture model, and we know, or at least we believe for the future, some degree of specialization, it will be needed to each part of the process. So looking back, I have a good expertise in breeding insects as a hobby, and I started to go deeper on how to scale up operations and study all the methods. We opened our first facility. It's a 500 square meter, so I consider medium size in my scale, where we do it all: breeding, growing larvae, processing, separating the frass, etc. So it's full vertical. And then we realized that we would need to take to a lower cost part to decentralize the fattening of the larva. In each case, the tenebro is around, the mealworm is around 7 weeks to 8 weeks, so it's a lot of time. It's not like BSF. And we start to testing small units that I'm going to show you, and put it in a radius of our factory on 100 kilometers. So try to be close for now, uh, because we know that our model was not perfect. It's still not perfect, but this relationship with people is really important. So our idea of process is to have a hub focus on breeding. So breeding is for us the most difficult part, and I think for all the breeders, to have a really stable egg production of mealworms is not easy. The pupa ratio from pupa to beetle is also difficult to maintain a good percentage. So is really hard. So we need to focus and have specialists here, and then we can ship the small larvae, the neonatas or the eggs, to these farms, and we can teach the people with methods I'm going to show that is really easy to reach a good stable production, compared with the more experienced breeders. And then we collect all the stuff, the live larvae, the frass, etc., and we process on a centralized facility. This is a picture of what we are doing now. Yes, we have logistics. Yes, we have the cost of logistics, but we can take the most by using one voyage with two flows. So we send the eggs and feed formula, the start formula that you provide, and then on the same journey back, we collect the larva and sometimes the frass, and ship it back to our facility. So we can easy this logistic impact. And now we are close to each phase. So we need frass on the farmers, so we produce frass on the farmers. So it's a little bit complicated, but I will show you in a very fast way. So we believe that there are two approaches for insect production: centralized with some characteristics, and decentralized, which is our hub model. And for me, the most important part, of course, is the risk in terms of investment for us, since the farmers bought the units from us. It's a way to capitalize the company and to reduce risk, share risk with the farmers. And of course, we are flexible. If tomorrow I have 10 tons of mealworm, I can anticipate, and took us from 4 to 6 months, and expand the capacity to that order, to that specific order. So we are already focused on sales, and we allocate the capacity when we need, not before. And we explain this to the client. It will take 4 to 6 months to get there, and normally it's okay. And then we have a very strong point, which is crowdsourcing. From our experience, we have already 3 farms decentralized, and we are collecting a lot of data, a lot of information from the people. Sometimes they are farmers, sometimes they are not, and even that they have different point of views, and they can help us to grow. So I would say step one is to decide what is the correct size for me. How big is my team today? Or if I'm starting to scratch from zero, how big I want to my team? 1, 2, 3, 4. And by that, we have 2 models: mini farms, which are modular units that we can provide fully operational with all the components, and we have all the data here. It takes little time to take off 1 container. It's 8 hours per week, okay, per cycle. Sorry, per cycle. So a full cycle will take 8 hours. So it's around 1 to 3 weekly labor days. It will depend on the way you are feeding the larva. That's the bigger impact that you are going to have. Then it's very important to see if there is co-products available. So they need to be near. If they are dry, it can be a little bit more further. But if you are using wet products, you need to have they need to be really close, because transport of water is highly costly. And you have another option, which will be transform or create a new warehouse, and this is going to be a bigger operation. So very important is to ask yourself some questions. For me, it's go/no-go questions. So how many human resources I have? What is the seasonality of my farm? For example, if I am a wine producer, I know that I have a peak from September, October, November. And if I want to have the same flow of people on my farm, I can design the operation to take the most advantage of my working hour. Okay. How can I optimize my labor? Then I need to see who are my suppliers. Can I supply myself? That's a question that I always ask, because it's more easier. Do you have spans from your production, like vegetables, fruits, brand, for example? If not, try to search around you who can give you those materials, and try to fix price with them, because if the price changes too much, it's going to be a problem. Then do I have, of course, electrical energy? If not, can I use solar panels? We also have this. And can I use the live larva? This is controversial, because some countries not possible to feed my animals, for example, flocks of chickens or aquaculture. And can I use the frass in my crops? It also change from country to country. And if the project is not for auto consumption, what can I do? Where can I find my clients? Then the second step is placing. So placing the units is the key. So near the exits, turn to south to minimize the heating, and see if I have the right conditions to create an operation. Good access, not muddy roads. If I have a good access to load the containers and filter operations. So step 3 will be operations prep. So look at my current facilities today, if I have it, and see if I can use the silos, if I can have a room to store the dry products, if I can install a refrigerating chamber to maximize the life of the wet products, etc. And if I want to ship or store live larvae, if I also can fit a controlled temperature chamber, low temperature, to make some stock of the larva. Also very important, prepare a place for the frass, at least to minimum of production, because using fertilizers, at least in our region, is seasonal. So sometimes you sell a lot of frass, sometimes you stop, and then you have to have the capacity to store it. You cannot block your operations. Fourth step will be tech-in. So for us, when you are installing the units, we install all the tech, all the AC units, the controllers, the water system, etc., and at least leave it for 1 to 2 weeks to see if you have internet, if all the components are working perfectly before you introduce the live larva. 5 steps, very important is to fix the terms with your suppliers. First, the inputs, so all the co-products, see what are the delivery terms, MOQ, the size of the co-products, because we have you cannot imagine the problems that we have managing this. Different sizes, different qualities, different freshness, and this need to be really clear from the beginning. And also, of course, with your output. So where I'm selling to, what they want, it's what are the conditions, etc., etc. Sixth step will be how to. So what is my team, what I'm going to do, what are my tasks, my protocols, the procedures, because you need to be, I think the key for the success is to be simple and create simple tasks that can work, create simple protocols and stick to it. If you are always changing the production, always trying to achieve better results all the time, you are not to achieve anything. It's really hard. So we need to have a standard control, and then step by step, really small steps, we can focus on increasing. But first, have a really good working routine, have responsible for it can be one man solo, and then it's easy to manage. But if it's not, you need to have at least some tools like a Jumbo walk, stock control, define all the tasks frequency and stick to it. Don't change all the time. It's really hard. We have here some tasks that we do in our farms, and we know how to do it, how many times per week, and we cannot be focused on changing everything all the time. 7 is when to, so plan. We need to plan a lot. Our approach is to plan at least one complete cycle in advance. So focusing on what I'm going to do with the next batch, when I'm collecting the poop, when I think the beetles are ready, when I'm going to start breeding, when I'm going to start feeding, wet feeding, etc., etc. So make a 8-week plan, the next cycle. Then we need to have a week plan for the macro activities. And in my experience, it's for now at least, it's really hard to predict how many time you will do you need for each task, because there are always surprises. Even with our almost 4 years experience, we have some surprises. So leave some free space on each day to tackle those surprises, and have a daily plan. Focus on at least the 4 to 5 major tasks that you cannot fail. For example, feeding, taking care of the beetles, etc. So step 8 will be start. Now I'm very clear with all my farmers. Okay, I say you can achieve 1.5 kilos of live larva per box, but let's start lower, and step by step we make a calendar together, and we are going to increase 5% of production each 2 months. That is our target. And I know that we are going to face some problems, because even if you give all the specs, all the tasks, people will start to try to change things. Sometimes it's good, but mostly it's bad. At least on the key things, you cannot change if you don't have knowledge. You could have lucky, but the major times it's going to create a problem. So create a simple table, explain to the farmer, or make yourself, and focus on 5% of increasing every 2 months. It's already really good if you can have at the end of the cycle 1.5 kilograms of mealworm per box. It's really good. So start slowly and never experiment on production. If you want to make some experiments with new feeds, with new weights, with new temperatures, have a very small zone apart from production, and make 1 box, 3 boxes, 1 column, 4 columns, and then validate. Never experience on the production. We did that before with many problems. 9th step will be steering. So everyone wants to measure everything to achieve the better output, but it's really complicated in insects. And our approach is to install the sensors that we know that are critical. temperature, humidity, also CO2. And now we can focus on samples. So you need to steer the production. How good I am comparing to the growing curve, the standard growing curve. Are my larvae good? No mortality? They are increasing in weight. So make a simple KPIs. So I have some here, like population ratio, live larva weight, dead larva, etc. Make simple KPIs. Stick to it and try to at least measure per week, per batch. For example, a batch of 500 boxes, 5 boxes per week, 30 larvae per box. It's already a really good sample. So try to see, construct a table with Excel or something, and see the small improvements or detect the problems that you have with these samples. Really, really important. Final step will be management. So focus on simple things. So the production, in my opinion, is really complex, but if you follow a simple strategy, stick to it, improvements will come, no problem. Focus on main drivers, such as cost. 5 production problems. For example, I'm having moth that will impact the production. I'm having big oscillations in terms of the size of the larva at the end of the cycle, or I'm having mortality, or my beetles only last 3 weeks, or my pupa are dying in a 70% ratio. So this will be 5 big problems in production. So try to address it one by one. Focus on the first one. The problematic will be, for example, too much eating on production is always worse than cold, because it will end up on killing all the larvae. And of course, sales. You need to focus on sales from the start of the project. If not, I know that the people that came to us, they say, oh, the demand is really high, there are no production in the market. That can be true, but finding the channels, it's not easy, and it's really complex to work on these areas. For example, it took us like 1.5 years to understand really the live market in Portugal. What is the site, what the customer wants, the size of the larva, the problems in logistics. So it took us almost 2 years, and now we own the market, 80% of the market, and because we know what the client wants. So talk to the client, understand what he needs, what are the pain points. So I'm buying from Spain, for example, and the larva dies, or we have a 30% die off, or the larva are hollow, they don't have meat. So try to understand, feel the pain points. This will be a really good driver for you, because you are starting, and you can focus on delivering a better larva with time. You will understand what can you do to minimize those problems and do it. So thank you, everyone. This was my presentation. I hope I meet the expectations.